So I asked them, what circumstances compelled the decision of the government to go to the IMF? All right. So you look at the 11. I'm getting into the more controversial part as we build up now. We've just done 10 minutes. We'll finish very soon. What circumstances compelled the decision of the government to go to the IMF? And then they told me an interesting story. Now, they said one of the first things that happened, which has precipitated this IMF issue, is what I've put on the screen. The downgrade by a rating agency. So this is Ghana, regular Ghana, not downgraded, B plus Ghana. And then here you have small Ghana, downgraded, B minus, almost to C, something like that. The downgrade of these agencies reduced the government or completely eroded the government's ability to borrow. Why did the ratings downgrade the government? Well, first of all, we don't have any control over the ratings. You heard that President Akufo-Addo, when he was in South Africa also, he was critical of Moody's and all of these downgrading agencies because he was aware that these downgrading agencies and the downgrading announcements that they are making about various countries was going to occasion an erosion of confidence of investors that are already even doing business with you. So government was concerned about this, but they believe that somehow, because of the relationship they have with these people, they will still be able to raise money. So they were thinking about raising 2 billion, 3 billion from the same lending market that they always go to. They knew that they had been downgraded, but they found out that the downgrading was actually going to be quite hurtful, because these agencies eventually then came back to the government and told the government that, listen, Ghana government, we are happy to give you the money. However, we think that if you could get an IMF policy supervision, it will be easier for us to give you the money. So what we learned from the Ministry of Finance yesterday was that they are going to the IMF. It's not so much to take money from the IMF. They are going to the IMF because of the circumstances so that they can get a policy supervision, and then they will be attractive to the lenders who have been lending money to them already anyway, so they can borrow the money. So we call that a glimmer of hope. So the glimmer of hope for the people at Ministry of Finance is that when we go to IMF and we work with the IMF, especially with their policy supervision for our balance of payments to sort of fix itself. Yes, they'll take some money from the IMF, but the main money they want to take is to take it from outside the IMF, to take it from the world. But that will be enhanced because you have been downgraded. That will be enhanced by an IMF program. So that's really what compelled the government to go to the IMF situation. Now, the question about policy mismanagement and economic mismanagement, and I've been dealing with it for a very long time. Economic and policy mismanagement relating to the reason why government of Ghana goes to the IMF. So let's take it slowly, and let me walk you through my view of what we have found about this policy mismanagement, because it's very complicated for me. And it's about, that's why we call it the question about mismanagement. So the question we want to ask is that, has the government of Ghana today succumbed to IMF because of mismanagement? Because the government of the NPP had accused the government of the NDC that they had mismanaged the economy. That's the reason why they've gone to the IMF. And that's why this conversation that's beginning to annoy people about which IMF is better and which one is worse, and it's beginning to annoy people. And I can understand why. Nonetheless, we still have to drill through the facts and understand it, because we are building a society, and we are building a society that must make a choice. That's the important thing. Democracy is about choice making. So whatever we say, we must go to the table with a choice. We have to make a choice. And so in making a choice, we have to understand that if our two leading political parties take a step, we should evaluate that step even if the step looks identical. And I think that some of my viewers will agree with me. I'm saying that if the two political parties have taken the same step, historically, in terms of economic recovery, we will still have to interrogate and evaluate the steps that each of them have taken, even if the steps are identical. So we did some hard work on answering the question about economic mismanagement, and I don't find it. I really can't find it, and I'm waiting to be convinced that this IMF issue has been as a result of economic management. Why do I say that? Let's move on. Back to the touch screen. Okay, number one. These are the things that have happened since 2017. And I'm leading this up to the 2020 elections. And I'll show you the main issues we have picked up. We've not just picked up, we researched on it. So you can also do the research. So go on the internet if you like. Put together all the videos or most of the videos of election 2020 and look at the campaign themes of election 2020, and you will be able to draw down the analysis that we are making. It's very simple. It's not complicated. It will just take a bit of your time. But if you don't have the time, you can listen to us. Trust us that we are telling you the truth. Nothing is untrue. All right. So the government of the MPP in 2017 inherited the economy from President Mahama. Okay. They told us during the campaign that the economy was not good. When they took office, they told us that the economy was not good. They told us certain things, factual things like agriculture had been growing at -%. That is below zero. They told us that the economic growth had been 3.4 GDP as at that time. What was the problem? They told us that the doomsday was as a result of the government mismanaging and not able to find money to pay for their gas. Okay, all right. Now, we can trace that historically if we have to be fair to the Mahama administration, because the government was picked up from J. Ekufuor in 2008, what looked like a very, very healthy economy. It had a bit of issues in the campaign of 2008 and the expenditure thereon. However, from 2009, the economy was inherited by Dr. Dufo, and he quickly went into single-digit inflation for the longest time, I think. So that economy that was inherited from J. Ekufuor was a healthy economy. Professor Mills took it up. It was okay. It got a bit worse, but it was okay until 2012. And then President Mahama took it up. And then you can compare all of that to the global situation. You can make your own analysis about that. So historically, we look at how President Mahama got into difficulty, and he got into genuine difficulties. But if you look at how he got into difficulty, and you can't find it, something external, something of a nature of a force majeure, then you will limit it to economic mismanagement. I think that's quite straightforward. If a government rules for 8 years, 6 years, 3 years, 4 years, and the government says, I have economic difficulty, and we cannot trace and put our finger on something external, something force majeure, something out of the control, beyond the control of the government, to say that this is why you have engage in economic mismanagement. And because we live in a global world, when something is happening to Nigeria, it will happen to Ghana if it's economic. It's happening to South Africa, it will happen to Kenya because it is geopolitical. Okay? So that's quite simple. I'm not going to, what do I say? I'm not going to pass judgment. But you can pass judgment yourself. So you look at President Mahama's historical economic situation, and you have to be able to find the external thing before you can conclude that this was not economic mismanagement. If you look at the government of President Akufo-Addo, it's the same thing. You have to look at the government activity fairly and squarely, and if you can't find the external, then you are sure that this is economic management. But if you say it's economic management without being able to say that this was internal, and without them defending themselves, being able to point to something external, something force majeure, something beyond their control, then if you can't find those things, something beyond your control, something force majeure, then I will conclude that it is pure economic management if you can't understand it. Okay, so let's move on. And I'm talking about the government of today. So they picked up the economy from 2017, okay? 3.4, negative agriculture, IMF program. We have to remember that government was already in an IMF program when they took over. And then 3.4 growth of economy, agriculture was going negative. Let's look at the things that factually happened. There's nothing here that's not true. Okay, so let's take it one after the other. Financial sector health was done, correct. That is the banking reform. It was done. It cost money. Free SHS was done, correct. This is an economy that's growing at 3.4. All the problems in there, they take it over at this rate. Free SHS was done, correct. Teacher training allowances was restored, correct. Nursing training allowances was restored, correct. Zongo Development Fund was established, correct. All of this is money, by the way. Okay. Before they came in, the IMF program that was in place had determined that government cannot recruit people. So it was an IMF program. It's not that Setekpe and John Mahama didn't want to recruit. They went into an IMF program. They had to go. That said you cannot recruit. Now let's see what happened after 2017. Recruited nurses, doctors, and other health workers, teachers, police officers, and many others. At least 750,000 public sector workers were recruited. That's between 2017 and 2019. Almost 1 million. Almost 1 million people who did not have employment before, but who were ready and available in Ghana, in their homes, in their villages, on the streets. Almost 1 million people who did not have jobs had been recruited by the public sector through the platform of either they were nurses, they were doctors, they were healthcare workers, they were teachers, they were police officers, and others, immigration officers, and all of that. 750,000 people have been recruited. And then one district, one factory was done. Okay, one district, one factory becomes a conversation about, are you sure it's a district, are you sure it's a factory? Okay, you can have that conversation. But we cannot deny at least one. A Kumfi factory, the Jews factory, was not there in 2016. It was not there. The land was bare. It has been done. Today, they are exporting to America and the United Kingdom. A Kumfi pineapple juice is here. If there's no factory at all, that one, you can't deny it. That was not done in the 8 years of the period. In some country it was done, it was not successful. And I'm saying some country because they are both in the central region. In fact, they are near each other. In some country it was done, it was not successful. The money was wasted. Money has to be spent again. Government money was spent on the Kumfi factory and it is sitting there, it's working, and it's solving people's problems. So the MPP will say they have done 70-something factories. NDC will say it's not 70, it's 20. I don't know. But this one, you cannot deny it, okay? All right, so one district, one factory was done. And then the national ID card was rolled out. How many years have we been trying to roll out national ID card? Since Professor Dumor's time, way back. Professor Dumor was one of the leaders of the national ID card, way back. That's when we started rolling national ID card. No money, no money, no money. Every day there was no money. Today, the national ID card has been done. A lot of people watching me now have a national ID card. That was not there. It is now here. It's not food in our pockets. It's not money in our pockets. It's not food in our stomach. It's not money in our pocket. But it is a development paradigm that is necessary for us to achieve what we want to achieve as a nation. And for us to get to middle-income nation, we need national identification system that works. And it costs money. Yes, it does. So that has been done. I'm trying to answer the question, has this IMF been occasioned by economic mismanagement? And I'm answering the question in the negative because that's my conclusion and I'm leading you to that conclusion. But you can contradict it. If you have the counterfactual, let's hear you. But these are the facts that has led me to the conclusion that this cannot be economic mismanagement. Let's go on. Okay, national ID card has been done. Automobile industries established with VW and Toyota, all of us applauded. When one day we saw President Kagame of Uganda opening a factory, President Kagame of Rwanda, opening a factory in Kigali, the capital, where VWs had been manufactured. All of us were excited. We didn't know that 1 year later, Ghana will also open. That one too, it was not there. Now it is there. Is it providing employment for people? Answer the question yourself. Is it providing cars that are good, that are cheaper than importing? Answer the question yourself. Is it reducing somehow our balance of payment because you don't need to take dollar to go and import a car, VW from Germany, you can get it in Ghana? Answer the question yourself. That was not there. Now it is there. Factual. Okay, let's move on. Digital address system. Some people say that they still don't have digital addresses, but that has started. That has not rolled out as fast as the ID card and as penetrating as the ID card, but it has started. Digital address system. Again, it's not food in our stomach. It's not food on our table. It's not money in our pocket, but it is a sine qua non for the development of society. And it costs money. So that one too has been done. You see, as Bob Marley said, an angry man, a hungry man is an angry man. When I'm hungry, I'm angry. Everybody is hungry. So in these economic times, all of us are angry, and that's understandable. However, these facts are true. They are very, 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 very true, and we can't do anything away. We can't take it away from the situation. That is factual, and it has an impact on what's happening now. And I'm still going to answer the question: has this been occasioned by economic mismanagement? Okay, all right. Digital address system has been done. Passport application digitized. Energy sector debt. Now that's the last one. Here's a government that's inherited energy sector debt of 1 billion take or pay. This has been said forever. The NDC have never been able to say it's not true. I'm not saying it's the NDC's fault. They say that every contract is take or pay, and they had doomed so and they had to do it. But it is still to be acknowledged that a government that inherited the 2017 economy also inherited finding 1 billion United States dollars in 17, 18, and 19 to pay to people who had given us power that we didn't need at the time. We have needed the power now. We've taken some of it, as we've been hearing. A Mary plant has come full stream. It's good that it came, so it's being used, it's being transferred to Kumasi. All of that is correct. But that doesn't take away the fact that the government that inherited the economy in 2017 inherited this bill, 1 billion United States. Do you know what 1 billion can do? So if we pay 2 billion to that, do you know what that 2 billion can do? Now, all of that was added to the national budget. All of these things were added to the national budget. And on top of that, we were still under an IMF program. Okay. And then here we are. Mobile money interoperability between telcos as well as between telcos and banks has been achieved. And it costs money. And we all know how much it was going to cost. In 2015, 2016, the Septem contract that went on arbitration, we know how much it was going to cost, and we know how much it ended up costing the government. So that also has been done. Again, it is not food, and it is not money in our pockets. And we need food. I need food. You need food. We need petrol prices to be down, and the government must work on that. We need petrol prices to be down. We need the foodstuffs at the market to be cheaper. But that doesn't take away from the fact that these are facts that have affected the economy, and these things have been done. We're still leading to the question of, has the government mismanaged the economy, for which reason we have to go to IMF? Because there are loud voices on social media who are insisting that the government has mismanaged the economy, but they don't even say why. We have found out that from what we see, it will not appear to be a reasonable conclusion to draw that this government has mismanaged the economy since 2017. We are driving up to that. Okay. Anglo Gold Ashanti has been revived. The Anglo Gold Ashanti was closed down. What was the matter? It was a matter of money. It was a matter of money. So the mine was closed down. The government put in the money. The mine has been opened. It was closed down. Now it's open. What does opening the mine mean? People are working in the mine. People who lost their jobs are back at work in the mine in Ghana. Okay? Ghana Post has been revived, and that's a small one because Oboa has been doing a fantastic work over there. So since 2021, we are seeing a lot of improvement in Ghana Post. Hopefully, they will generate the revenue. And then for good measure, let's talk about airports. Kumasi International Airport has been completed. Tamale International Airport is being completed. Sunyani Airport is being completed and will be reopened. All of that cost money. It was not being done, completed, because there was no money. Money has been found and put in these things, and so the airport is going to work. So Kumasi International Airport works, Tamale International Airport works. You can then derive a multiplier business effect for it to work. And again, it is not food on our table, and it may not be money in our pocket. It may not reduce the petrol price at the pump. It may not yet reduce the food prices, but it is factual, it's gone into the economy, and it should lead us into the analysis of whether our economy is being mismanaged or not. Ghana Publishing Company has also been revived. Now look at this. 300 national ambulances have been provided. 300 national ambulances have been provided. Again, it was not there. Since 2017, it is there. Ambulance was, every constituency didn't have an ambulance. Now you go abroad and people are talking about ambulance. We can also share the ambulance experience. When we were growing up, we didn't understand what an ambulance was. We just see military, the car doing, and you can't even tell what's an ambulance. And we didn't know that. The generation of today, if they travel to another country, Cote d'Ivoire, Nigeria, South Africa, and they talk about ambulance, they will tell you, oh, that's in Ghana, every constituency has an ambulance. We couldn't say that. You couldn't say that. Today, we can say that. It is not food on our table, it's not money in our pocket, but it is essential for a modern society that thinks about its people. It is essential for a government that doesn't just sit at Jubilee House and converse, but a government that thinks about its people to roll out social interest and social things that people can benefit from. Social interventions, they call it. To create the ambulance conversation has started during Professor Mills. A bit of it was done during J. Kufuor's time. A few ambulances came, started during Professor Mills, went on to John Mahama. It was not done. Now, it has been done. It is there. So, yes, so it's not food, but it's something. All right. Now, we looked at this situation about this economic mismanagement thing again, and I've come to the conclusion of the data. Now, I thought we should do one more thing, and because I'm political, I said, okay, let's go to 2020 elections, and let's try and understand the issues that came up for 2020 election. It will let us be able to call out people who are telling us today that the economy is bad, and that the economy is bad, yes, but has it been mismanaged? That's the question we are asking. So we went to election 2020's issues, the issues that formed election 2020. And here they are. You can find them as well. Here they are. Okay. So on education, it was a big story in 2020. The MPP said they had done policy successfully implemented as free SHS from the first year of assumption in office. Good performance of free SHS WASI candidates. Double track system gradually fades away. That's what the MPP were saying in the campaign about education. President Mahama and the NDC said, review free SHS is important. Waiver of school fees of students of tertiary education in 2021 and 2022. That's what the NDC were promising in the 2020 campaign. As far as education was concerned, they said they will waive school fees of students of tertiary education in 2021 and 2022. Okay, somehow, maybe the people didn't believe it, and that's how the elections ended. Let's move on 2020 elections. Corruption. On corruption, President Akufo-Addo was touting his credentials for establishing the office of the special prosecutor. This was in 2020's election. And then on the same corruption, President Mahama was talking about the resignation from office of Martin Amidu as special prosecutor, indicating that Martin Amidu that they had selected to be special prosecutor, he himself felt that the people were corrupt, so he left. We've dealt with Martin Amidu already. President Akufo-Addo said he had set up the office of special prosecution. That's on corruption. Let's move on. On infrastructure, President Akufo-Addo talked about construction of roads and then the Agenda 111 district hospitals, which people are still talking about within the IMF context. President Mahama said, NDC believes it has a better record in infrastructure. And NDC touted its infrastructure record significantly in the 2020 elections. I'm going on to show you why I'm saying that this current situation cannot be as a result of economic management. Okay. On health, better management of COVID-19 pandemic compared to many other nations. President Akufo-Addo touted himself on that one, and that one, there's no question about it. You can be political about it, but there's no question about it. The whole world noticed that Ghana was behaving like a European country. Part of the reason why Ghana is suffering today is that Ghana was behaving like a European country because the people at the helm of affairs were thinking about the people. That's why they said you should have free water. That's why they said you should have free electricity. That happens in America and the United Kingdom. It doesn't happen in Umofia, if you like. It doesn't happen there. It doesn't happen in those places. It happens in America and the United Kingdom. It is only Ghana, an African country, that decided that our people are important. And we all remember what the president said. I know how to bring the economy back. I don't know how to raise people from the dead. So only Ghana said you can have free water. Even African countries who were better placed than Ghana did not offer that because it was very scary to offer that as a third world country unless you had this penchant for people. It is only then that you can offer that. Otherwise, you won't offer it. If you're doing calculation on the paper, nobody's going to do free water. Stay at home, don't come to work. In America, they are reducing people's salaries. Public workers, public sector workers, they are reducing their salaries. But in America, they give them free water, free electricity. In Ghana, we did. And that also is a cost. So President Akufo-Addo was touting his credentials during the election that he had had a better management of COVID-19. President Mahama touted building the hospitals which became useful under COVID-19, which is also correct. That's also correct because the hospitals that were used for COVID-19 were built by President Mahama and built in President Mahama's time. The University of Ghana Hospital, which became a center, the Ghana East Hospital in Accra, which became a center for it, they were built by President Mahama. The Ridge Hospital, yes. So President Akufo-Addo said, I've managed COVID-19 better because I've been thinking about people and I spend the money on people. And President Mahama said, yes, I built the hospitals that you have used. Both of them are correct. All right, let's move on. Transport. President Akufo-Addo said he's making Ghana a hub for the assembling of vehicles and boosting transportation sector. President Mahama said he was going to legalize Okada. And so President Akufo-Addo was touting his credentials in VW and Nissan and Toyota coming in. President Mahama said he's going to legalize Okada. That was the conversation on transport. Okay, on economy. This is the big story. So if this economy has been mismanaged, 2020 is just 2 years ago. That's when the elections occurred. Go back and check. The economy was not part of the NDC's forward campaign in 2020. It was not. So if the economy had been badly managed by 2020, that would have been the opposition's main take into the election. When we checked, the opposition's main take into the election in 2020 was not the economy. So when they say this economy has been badly managed, we had an election 2 years ago. That was an opportunity for the NDC to come back to power. If economy was bad, people were hungry, this and that, that would have been the opposition's clarion call that this economy has been badly managed. They didn't say that in 2020. It was not part of the election campaign, and you can check. On economy, President Akufo-Addo talked about better management of Ghana's economy as the records show from 17 to 19. He was very strong about that. GDP growth inherited at 3.4, comes to 8, comes to 7. President Akufo-Addo was buoyant about the situation of the economy in 2020. He was on the campaign. And he also said he has sustained the economy under a global pandemic. And he said the provision of good incentives for frontline health workers, free water and electricity to households during the pandemic. That's what he said. He was buoyant about this. President Mahama did not push much on the economy. And the NDC did not make the economy a key agenda. So how then do you come and tell me that at this stage it is economic mismanagement? If it's economic mismanagement, you would have touted it in 2020. So if in 2021, post-COVID, things happen around the world, everywhere is going under, and then the government has a difficulty, you can't say that's economic management. I'm not going to say anything about IMF of 2014, 2015. You can make your own decision on that. But I'm dealing with this particular one because as I started, my concern was, why did they misforecast e-levy? And I have gone to talk to them about that. But if you look at the thing, you listen to this matter well, that it is economic mismanagement, the data does not support that conclusion. We can all talk on social media. That's okay. It's great. It's building society. Social media is fantastic. Everybody can say what they want. But if you want to drill down the numbers, you will come to the conclusion that this is not economic management. Otherwise, in 2020, it would have featured in the opposition's campaign. It didn't feature. Other things were featuring, not on the economy. Okay, let me run through it. All right. Now, the last thing I want to say. This ecstatic frenzy that occurred after the announcement, and people were very excited that Ghana is going to the IMF. I looked at it quietly. I listened to Newsfile on Saturday. Professor Bob Payne, he made very interesting points. I really respect the guy's brain. I've been listening to him, and he made very interesting points. See, his analysis, he was coming from the strength of the analysis, and he talked about why the IMF decision should have been taken earlier, because in 2021, the economy was healthier than it is. Of course, because the pandemic had not eaten us away at that time as much as it has now, coupled with Russia and Ukraine war and the shortage of fuel. In some countries, they don't have fuel. We have fuel, but it's too expensive for all of us. So Professor Bobby made those points, and I like that. But there were people who were dancing in studios that Ghana has announced an IMF decision. It reminded me of the old Ghanaian concern that this pull him down attitude. So if you are a healthy, independent economy, this is how you are. This is how you look like. If you're under IMF management, this is the same Ghana. This is how you look like. Now, people were happy that, okay, we are all at the bottom. You said that we were at the bottom because we went to IMF. You too, you will come to the bottom. We will all be at the bottom. And that kind of reminds me of the Archbishop's statement. Like, we are all coming, we are all at the bottom. People were excited. They said we don't know what to do. So we went to IMF. They too, we are dancing. I was shocked that people don't say that, but you've gone to IMF. Come and explain why you've gone to IMF. And this IMF, what does it mean? What are the details? When are we getting out of it? And the opposition have a document and say that government is going to IMF because of this and that and that. And we are advising them that this is the decision they should take. If we were in power, this is what we would do to get out of the IMF. If we were in power, this is what we would do. No, they are just excited that, oh, we are happy. We were down there. They too, they are coming down. They said they are clever. They said 2017, 2016, and 2017, 2018, 2019, they were doing it. Now COVID has taught them a lesson. They are also coming down. Is that something to say? When people say that, do you think they like the country? I've stood here before and talked about the Solomon baby. When they said, cut the baby, because we don't care, it's not our baby, cut it into pieces. And the other woman said, even though I know it's my baby, don't cut the baby, keep the baby. These are people who are excited. Yeah, the lowest ebb is for a country to mismanage its economy and go to IMF. And this thing was hanging over our heads. Oh, today they've gone to IMF. Yeah, that is good. They've gone. But if you look at the data, it's completely different. These are people who inherited this, added, and then had the pandemic, sorted it out. That's not very simple. That's not very, very simple. Anyway, so I saw that and I wanted to comment on it. Now, this is the final one. Have a look at this. Turkey's annual inflation soars to almost 79%, hitting highest levels in 24 years. CNBC reports. Put it on the screen so they can look at it well. Turkey's annual inflation, it soared to almost 79%, hitting highest levels in 24 years. Now, Turkey is not a badly governed country. We all know Turkey. People these days go to Turkey to trade. In fact, Turkey is almost competing with Dubai for our traders who go and buy things and all the woodworks and all of that. Turkey is almost growing into a developed country. But that's the record of Turkey because of the circumstances of the world. And Turkey is talking about highest in 24 years. In Europe and America, they are talking about the highest cost of living standard in 40 years. So that's happening everywhere. We are all hungry, and therefore we are angry, and we deserve to be angry. And when we elect a government, they are supposed to solve our problems. And so the government has to be under pressure to solve our problems. I think that is correct. But these are the facts. These are the real facts. And I've been doing a lot of time, so I will wrap it up here and then talk about the other matter. And then Yabuafu is in the studio to talk. So that's my two persuasive points.